stuff. My crypto is legit. Yeah, boy, it's the shit. Remember when you said it was a pyramid scheme? Now I'm on the moon and on TV. Remember when you said it was a Ponzi scheme? I see you on the street in my Lamborghini. My crypto is up. Yeah, boy, that's the stuff. My crypto is legit. Yeah, it's the shit. My crypto is up.
I'm sorry, I just love that guy. He's got a total of 16 likes now and like 500 views, and I don't know, 400 of them might be for me. Hopefully you guys are having a good day today. Rune, let's get ready to rumble. Yes, sir. Sidecar Guy, the KS for starting early. Angel DDS. When is your surgery, Jesse? It is Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. I am not looking forward to it. Not going to lie. Oh, yeah, and somebody, sorry, going to segue here real quick. Sequoians is getting absolutely wrecked this morning, so I want to jump into this real fast. I think it's important to see. So if we look over here, it is down. It has filled the gap. So this is this reminds me of SBET when it had filled the gap, and I jumped in really hard. It feels like that again. And this is I actually probably have to readjust some things here real quick, and not my nuts. Let me close this. So this is a fib retracement. We're just going to get rid of this because we've blown past it. We do need to lower the bar though on our fib extension. I actually have a couple in here. I need to clean up this chart. While we're here, let me do this real quick. So this is kind of like an emergency session. I probably shouldn't even talk about it yet, because I should add more to my position. But this is a perfect gap fill, guys. We're going to open up perfectly. Oh, and we got Pomp talking this morning too about Bitcoin. We might have to look at that in a second. But this is one of those moments where I think it's going to be a nice area to buy, and I'm looking to acquire more. Again, if you look down here, it's kind of hard to see in pre-market, but you can see where this is right down here at $1.48. So we will be covering this massive gap this morning. That is a total, let's see here, of a 75% drop from the high. So this thing has been absolutely butchered. And I'm going to look to add more this morning. Hopefully it stays down for market open. Do you know why it's down so hard? I think it could deal with the pipe. I did a little bit of a post over here. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. 1 second. Where are groups? Communities, Sequoians. There we go. So in case you guys haven't seen this morning, a couple of things I want to talk about with this one, and then we'll get back to the broader stuff too. We should probably listen to Pomp in a second here. But if we jump over to Michael Saylor's page, again, he's incredibly supportive of the Smarter Web Company, which I love, right? Oh, he's got Amplify the Orange. We're posting more stuff. But there's a few other things that I want to show. That's cool. I like that one. There's a few other things I want to show that he posted today. Let's see if I can find it. Where is it? Oh, no, I actually need to select Saylor. That's the problem. Let me go over here. So he's got capital B. That's great. He's showing that one. I think this is Alt BG. I don't even know if I posted that. I should do that. So we got H100 buying this morning, Alt BG, Sequoians. He retweeted this. I love this. I love that he's supporting. These Bitcoin companies. Swan is the company that is helping with the Bitcoin acquisition strategy for Sequoians. And again, you got Ben Workman involved in this. You can tell we've reached like peak fear and we're wiped. Jesse's laying out pipe. You guys are great. You could tell that we're reaching peak fear though with some of these treasury companies, because it's just like the sentiment. I heard people calling Ben Workman a scammer. Ben is like one of the coolest fucking people you could ever talk to. In the space. He's about as far away from being a scammer as you can possibly see. Look over here. We got Metaplanet at 780 BTC buy this morning. They had, what did they have? I just posted this a little bit ago. They have an MNAV, I think this is as of Friday, a close of 2.88. All of this stuff is just absolutely fucking beautiful. But let me find my Sequoians post here real quick. Let me go back. So you got Michael Saylor posting about these guys. You got them closing the daily gap. Feels to me very much so like what we saw with SBET, and what we saw too, really with BMNR before Tom helped prop that one up, where it had dropped super hard after people got into it way too early. And admittedly, I did a great job with SBET. I did a great job with BMNR. I didn't do a good job with Sequoians, but whatever. Not everybody's perfect. That's how it works. But if you look, Jay Boo says, can someone explain why would an investor want to dump their newly released warrants at a price so low to the purchase price? It's my understanding the warrants are purchased around 150. Why the hell would you dump them now? I don't know why that's happening. If anybody has more insight into it, let me know. Here's my post from earlier that I just wanted to cover. So I said Sequoians has a market cap of 250 million. That is less. It is down. What is it down right now? So that was the 250 million isn't including the 25% drop from this morning that closes our gap. So that's kind of wonderful. Again, that means we're probably under 200 million right now or close to it for a market cap, which is a lot more reasonable. Or I should say it's a good entry point. 200 million is very small. When you look at some of these other companies, guys, like even SBET, what is SBET at? 2.2 billion market cap. BMNR, these are Ethereum treasuries, but over 2 billion market cap. And a lot of the other big ones, Bitcoin's been pretty washed out, but again, getting a market cap that's growing quickly, that as of my count here, let's look at where we're at right now with Sequoians. And again, I'm just in options right now with this one. Not a huge position either, like 150K or something like that. I don't know, it might be less than that now, but more after I buy more. I can't do it market open or till market open, but with the account that I'm using. But yeah, 22, ranked 22 with more Bitcoin acquired, 3,072. These guys went from nothing to a whole bunch. I could see them passing GameStop in like a month, maybe 6 weeks, at the rate that they're acquiring. And so to me, it's insane that it's coming down unless there's something I'm not seeing. If you guys know it, throw it out in chat. If you guys know of anything that's going on with this company that I'm not seeing. But I think right now, what is the MNAV on this thing? It is like, let me go back over here. The MNAV for Sequoians, let's just pull it up. Before this drop was 0.775. So the MNAV right now has got to be 0.6 or something like that. I think it's just massively misvalued. And I'm looking forward to acquiring again more options. Right now I have a bunch. I don't want to give the strike right now because some of you already know it because you've looked at my trades, but I've got some no, I'm not going to say. What am I thinking? So anyway, I've got some out there. I can't have people front running me because options are difficult. If I tell 1,000 people what I'm looking at buying this morning, then the chance of me getting to buy it is non-existent. So I'm probably going to wait until I purchase. But again, if you're just looking at stock on this thing, I think it's a great price. I said this morning, I think there's 19% downside. That was when it was only down 7%. So right now, I think there's virtually no downside and upside potential. Let's see, I was saying 295 before to get to the previous high, or 259 or something like that was. And so right now, yeah, it's a 300% gain to get to the upside. And look at how perfectly we're sitting on that daily gap and filling it. So from a technical level, this thing is like pre-Bitcoin treasury, right? We are pre-Bitcoin treasury right now. We literally, when they announced it, it was probably right over here around $1.30, $1.40. And now in pre-market, we're $1.46. So this company is being valued as if it hasn't acquired a bunch of Bitcoin. It isn't working with Swan in order to acquire a bunch of Bitcoin, and doesn't have Ben Workman sitting on this, and isn't getting retweeted by Michael Saylor. So I just think this is crazy. Now, there is some things to talk about. That the company did delist, or it did have risk for delisting from the New York Stock Exchange because they were unable to obtain an average market cap of 50 million for a period of 30 days. But I'm saying that risk basically disappeared because if you look over here, they were right now, before pre-market, before this recent drop, they were 50 million. They were way more of a market cap up here at the $5 range. So again, the last 30 days, if you look at their average, like, they're going to be fine. So I don't see that risk right now. And again, I know they did a bunch of warrants. It sounds like somebody was selling the warrants at a low level. I don't know why they're doing that. I can't tell you that. I don't have insider information on this company. But I said the core business is not profitable, has negative free cash flow. But you could see, again, where their bonds have picked up a lot. You could see where shares outstanding, they weren't really doing a lot of dilution before recently here. So the company was avoiding dilution. They have had a revenue drop. They're a chip company. They had a Qualcomm. I think they sold. I don't know if it's part of the business. If you guys know, throw it out in the chat. But basically, I don't think they're doing as well in their chip business anymore. You could see how they had some negative free cash flow. And so the company, again, it's running at a forward PE of 14, a PE ratio of 0.8. I would argue that with their Bitcoin strategy, and as aggressive as they're being, I think it's going to end up being like SBET. Yeah, somebody said, if it turns out to be another SBET, can we get that lucky? I think we can, because I think the entire market is turning around right now. Let's look real quickly at Smarter Web Company. I don't know if you guys have heard of this company. It's one I love. I saw this interview with Andrew Webley. The whole Webley family is fucking awesome, first off. But I saw this interview with him with one of the dudes from True North. He's black. I don't remember his name. I'm only starting to become more familiar with the entire crew. He's brilliant, though. He's probably one of the smartest people on True North. But he interviewed Andrew Webley, and it was a great interview, just talking about their strategy and what they're looking to do going forward. And he can only say so much, but it was fascinating. If we look at Smarter Web Company across the pond in the UK this morning, it is up almost 14% on the day. I was telling one of my friends that I went to lunch with last Friday, my friend Jared, I got to hang out with him and meet his brother. His brother flew his plane in. I don't know if it was his or if he was using one, but he flew his plane in to meet me yesterday, which was fucking awesome. And he's a great dude. So shout out to you, man. And Jared was the previous chief financial officer of a company I worked for that had several hundred employees. I was pretty low on the totem pole. It's awesome that he watches my show every once in a while, and it's awesome to be able to spend time and again meet his brother. They're great people. But I was telling him on Friday that I thought Smarter Web Company was finally seeing the bottom, and it looks like I'm going to get that right. So I hope you guys bought. I hope you added to your stack, Jared. I hope you did, bro. Also, it's not just this. Sold, 2X Solana fund is up 10% in pre-market. DFDV is up 5.53. That's another Solana treasury. UPEXI is up 7.2%. Metaplanet is up 5% was up 5% across the pond in Japan. And it looks like in their German market, they're up 3.47% this morning. There is a lot of stuff doing good. Ethereum treasuries, it looks like BMNR is up about 2%, and it looks like SBET's up about 3.6%. I think that those are going to rocket too. I think all of this stuff is getting ready to take off. Adrian is his name. Dude, he is fucking smart. He's probably one of the smartest people. There's a lot of other people on True North that get a lot of credit. I'm not going to say name names here, but Adrian is a really smart dude. I am very impressed with him and his demeanor and how well he carries himself. But he had a great interview. And just listening to the guys at True North, originally, certain people, again, not going to name names, were shitting on other treasuries, even though Michael Saylor is supportive of them. They would maybe shit on a Smarter Web Company, Metaplanet, some of these other things. The last interview I saw with these guys over the weekend, it was like 2 hours long. It might have been from like 3 days ago. They were all looking for greater yields, and it looks like they were all very supportive of all these treasury companies, which I find kind of fascinating. Again, with some of them not talking positively about other treasury companies and basically looking at that MicroStrategy as the holy grail. But now it looks like they're starting to understand that Saylor has maybe realized he's hurt himself a little bit with just, again, some of these bond-like issuances that he had, where, again, there's an incentive to kind of like remove volatility from these players instead of create it. And so we're going to have to see. And one of them, I think Adrian was even saying, hey, guys, over the short term, like, volatility is king, but that volatility doesn't have to be to the upside. It could be to the downside. And again, I do believe that MicroStrategy is going to have a blowout earnings. Analysts still think that we're having a negative earnings report on this company, which is insane. They still believe EPS. Look at this. If we look over here, guys, analysts are saying, is it over here? Analysts are saying that, well, I don't know where it is right on the screen, but analysts, oh, wait, let me check down here, be a little smarter. Negative 0.098 are the estimates for earnings for this company. This is just insane. They're going to blow out this quarter. People don't seem to know what's going on with this company at all. We also have, guys, a perfect back test on MicroStrategy. It's up 2.77% in pre-market. And just look at this. It doesn't get better than this. If you go to the daily, it looks a little cleaner. But like, look at this. Look at this back test. Look, you see the line over here that acted as resistance. It shot above it for a second, got rejected off the fib, the golden retracement zone, the perfect zone to retrace. Then you can see resistance, 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 broke above, fell down, perfectly back tested. And I don't do this very often, but I'm feeling confident enough to do it right now. And so you have this company with record earnings, and they just perfectly back tested their downward trend line that goes back to, what is this? 2024. 2024. So I think, don't they know about FASB accounting, or is this straight up? No, I think it's stupidity and manipulation. You have Jim Chanos shorting the fuck out of this stock and getting ready to get wrecked. And again, you just have people that, this is the easier one to short. I mean, a number of them have been easy to short, but I think these guys are getting ready to get wrecked. Again, if we look here, the measured move, guys, it conservatively, if we just count it to here, like, right, like you could actually count this even higher, but if we just count this to here and then look at the breakout and just say that it's from here right here, this thing gets us up conservatively for MicroStrategy around the 750 range. And I think that's what ends up happening. So I'm gonna actually draw this over here and then draw it down. That way I can kind of keep it there for good measure. But so MicroStrategy doing well when their earnings come up. When are their earnings here? Let me just double check again. I think TradingView is right. July 31st now. I think they were previously in August, but that was revised a while ago. Their earnings are going to be sick. And again, I just think this company isn't going to give you the best returns. They're just not, because they're so huge. They don't have the growth rate anymore. But I think they're going to see some volatility here soon. I think they're going to do really good. Your 3x long MSTR, bring it on. Ooh, I don't like those kind of funds right now, but I do think it's going to turn out well for you over the short term. I just wouldn't stick around too much, because the theta decay and the tracking errors for like a 3x fund are huge. So enjoy it, and then maybe GTFO and move on would be my recommendation. Anyway, we got to look at stuff. We got a lot going on. We have, I want to go back here because we had Pomp talking this morning. We also had a key part of the administration talking. Let me go back a few here. I want to get back to the Pompinator. Pomp. I guess I've been talking for a while because he's here somewhere. There we go. We got Pompliano. Again, his fund is CCCM. Hopefully we'll be getting more announcements on that soon. I don't know if we will be right now, but I do want to hear what he has to say. And then again, we're probably going to go and listen to the administration talking about the trade deal. If you guys didn't know this, I probably should have covered this earlier. I'm all over the place because I have so much going on right now in my personal life with my surgery coming Wednesday. I've got an inspection tomorrow with my new house. We're finishing up a bunch of work over the next 3 to 4 weeks on my existing house. There's just so much going on in my life. I apologize. I haven't been as coordinated and organized as I usually am. But yeah, let's listen to Pomp here and go from there. Oh, gonna need some volume.
Right now, joining us, Anthony Pompliano, founder and CEO of Professional Capital Management. Each week, there's more data points.
We have a bunch. Coincilium purchased 12.42. There's so many companies that have purchased Bitcoin over the weekend. We'll talk about them in a second.
It seemed to indicate just...
But let's listen to Pomp talk about how Bitcoin's going to crush it and the new normal for crypto.
Increasing adoption of not just Bitcoin, but I mean, Ether, Ethereum suddenly has gotten a lot of attention as well. Has it made up some of the underperformance in recent months at this point?
Well, look, I think that Bitcoin has established itself as the king of the market. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I actually think most of Wall Street's time and attention is on Bitcoin. There are other assets that from time to time start to get some capital flows. But if you look, things like Ethereum, Solana, et cetera, they still haven't set in new all-time highs this summer. And so I think that Bitcoin has kind of broken away. Doesn't mean that some of these other assets maybe in the future can't do that, but Bitcoin definitely continues to dominate the market, both in terms of
Sorry, real quick. Ted said, when is the White House crypto report coming? Yes, it's Wednesday. Do I have any expectations? I actually think that they're going to end up talking about their strategy for the Bitcoin strategic reserve, or we might get that. There's speculation that we're going to be getting that, which would be huge. And again, just we'll probably get more confirmation at the very least about the Clarity Act and its passing. The Clarity Act looks great. I was listening to some people talk about it. I don't think it was Blockworks, but it was some channel over the weekend. I think it's fascinating. Jesse James with Invest Answers gave you a quick shout out on his Sunday video. Yeah, I saw that. James is a good dude, man. I love him. He answered a question for me, which was great for RH, I think. Ted Petey, huge crypto week. Yes, there's so much going on, guys. We got the Fed talking this week. I got a feeling they're going to be a little more dovish than they normally are. Obviously not going to cut. Sorry, Pomp, we'll give you a second here. Obviously not going to cut. If we look at the July CME Fed watch, you got a 2.6% chance of them cutting this week. That's just not going to happen. But the next, in September 17th, that's when we could actually see a cut. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad for markets. I'm on the sidelines with that right now. MicroStrategy has no buys. No buys over the weekend? Really? Let's look at that real quick. Sailor didn't buy the dip. Interesting. How do you know they had no buys? Did they list that? Or they just haven't posted yet? Let me look. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Why do you say they had no buys? 65% of orgs. These are all old. That's old. The only thing. Why do you say they had no buys? Sorry, real quick. I mean, he literally talked about adding more dots, right? Anyway, we'll come back to that. But yeah, so I'm super excited. Dario, can you do a technical analysis on SBET using Fibonacci, please, if you have time? Yeah, we can look at it. MicroStrategy, no Bitcoin buys made from July 21st to 27th. How do you know that? You guys have a link? I'm not seeing any updates. That's why I'm asking. And I wonder if this is part of his strategy. You tagged me? Okay. Let me check in here. I wonder if that's why. Let's see. Let me see if we're still up this morning. 2.74%. Galaxy did a massive Bitcoin. Yeah. They sold a bunch, $9 billion. Let me just check real quickly, though, and see. I want to see this post. So this is interesting. If they didn't do a buy, this is actually kind of interesting. Let me see here. Delta. MicroStrategy, no Bitcoin buys made during July 21st to 27th. You know, with earnings coming up, I wonder if this is like a part of the blackout window. I think this is actually good. This is probably why the stock's up. Anyway, we'll leave that alone for now. I think that's actually probably good. I think that's good because one of the things that they need to do if they really want to fuck the shorts is not do more share dilution. And I don't know if they should be doing more issuance with their ATM either. I think maybe just a sit and hold can drive their MNAV higher, which would be devastating to people like Jim Chanos. I wonder if that's the play. Fucking wild. All right. Yeah. They're also waiting on funds for STRC. That's a good point. What was that, $2.5 billion? That's a good point. Let's listen to Pomp, though, real quick. So that's fascinating. I wonder if they're using this in order to be able to essentially drive up the MNAV, because if they're not diluting shares, and if, again, they don't have the money for STRC yet, and if they're not tapping the ATM, maybe they're going to have an opportunity to increase volatility. It might be like the smartest thing to do. STRC is tomorrow, too. Yeah, STRC is the $2.5 billion, right? I think that's the big one, but I don't know how that's going to count towards when they're purchasing. Maybe that's next week. But heading into, and then again, there's like an earnings blackout. Maybe they're taking a break before that. this honestly might be a really great way to squeeze the shorts and get that volatility they've been looking for because it's been so dormant. Very interesting. Let's listen to Pomp, though. Let's finish up.
Actual dominance of market cap, but also I think just capital flows and time and attention.
We've been having a lot of people on to talk about stable coins.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about stablecoins is they don't go anywhere other than stay at $1. So, they can grow in market cap size in terms of how many people are using them. But I don't think people really use stablecoins as a comparison to Bitcoin or altcoins where they're looking to try to drive some sort of financial performance.
What type of
just treasuries?
I hesitate to call it derivatives, but there's a lot of different Bitcoin-based products coming out at this point. What do you think has staying power?
Ooh, we're talking about treasuries.
If you really just look at what's happened over the last 5 to 7 years, is Bitcoin essentially went from a contrarian trade to a consensus trade. Everyone now, for the most part, is convinced that this thing is going to be around for a long time. And now what you see is Wall Street, who really was kind of ignoring it or trying to stiff arm Bitcoin, has now said, wait a second, let's open up the doors and let's embrace this thing because they figured out how to make money. And so you're seeing Bitcoin put into the Wall Street wrappers. First you saw it with the ETFs. Now you're seeing it with public companies. You also have heard people announce things like Bitcoin and real estate funds. I think you're going to continue to see Wall Street take Bitcoin and put it in every single corner of the traditional financial system because ultimately Bitcoin brings volatility. Bitcoin brings financial return in a way that they're not used to seeing. And so I think that Bitcoin is something that is going to bring more customers, more assets, and more profits for these Wall Street institutions. And that's their job, is to go figure out how to grow their business, and Bitcoin can help them do that.
I mean, how many strategy, and it used to be MicroStrategy, but how many treasury officials at different companies are thinking about somehow not doing exactly what strategy, but putting Bitcoin into the treasury? Is that...
Yeah, well, look, I think the bigger conversation here is there should be way more pressure on the public company CEOs who are leaving a very large portion of their economic value for their shareholders in dollars. The U.S. dollar has lost 30% of its purchasing
Agreed.
power in the last 5 years or so, since 2020. The S&P 500 denominated in Bitcoin is down 85% since 2020. Bitcoin is a much better store of value than U.S. dollars.
I guess people would say, are you out of your,
I think so too,
people that don't believe in the whole story of crypto and Bitcoin.
Well, the Bitcoin...
I don't want my company speculating on, and as a shareholder, they would be, petrified to have a large stake in Bitcoin.
From a Bitcoiner's perspective, we think that they are speculating on the U.S. dollar's ability to store value. And so there is two things that have happened over the last 15 years. As Bitcoin has increased the purchasing power of the people and the companies who hold it, the U.S. dollar has destroyed that purchasing power. And so, again, it goes back to the fact that if you are running a company and you have shareholders and your job is to protect the economic value of that business, are you better off holding dollars for the next 10 years or putting it in Bitcoin? And I think what you're seeing is that this idea of storing corporate assets in Bitcoin, again, that is now a contrarian trade. I think it will become a consensus trade over time.
What are you going to do with your blank check thing, your pro cap thing? You looking around?
Yeah, I don't think with Pomp and CCCM, I don't think he has the ability to say much right now. Aren't they still focusing on like a merger, I believe, with this one? I can't remember. There's so many treasuries I look at right now. So I know the last time I heard him talking, he said, hey, there's a lot I want to say, but I just can't yet. And I don't remember what the completion date was for when he was going to be able to say more.
So we have two different deals.
But you're right. In the past, last cycle, there were projects that he was involved in that didn't do so well because of rehypothecation of funds. And then people like Dylan LeClaire, who's an advisor for MetaPlanet, helped figure out like some of the companies that were dangerous and that were failing and saved me a fortune. And so Pomp was involved with some of those. But again, he's involved with a lot. And I don't know. I'm probably going to leave my CCM alone.
We obviously have the SPAC, the ProCap Acquisition Corp. We're looking to buy a profitable company.
Like what?
But I love SmarterWeb. So, and I own so much of it already. But yeah, SmarterWeb's awesome. I think I have like 750,000 in it, maybe something like that.
In the financial services sector, we think that there's a really big opportunity to go buy a great business that's profitable, that's growing quickly, that we can then use social media distribution to significantly enhance the business. And there's a lot of great companies that are out there, and we're going to go try to find one of those and figure out if we can do a great deal.
Is that what you're spending on?
I would love to see the acquisition strategy acquiring other like Bitcoin companies or companies that are profitable. I heard somebody talk about that this weekend. I can't remember if it was they were talking to Andrew like with Smarter Web or if it was another company that they were referring to. But they said, "Hey guys, I've got a crazy idea. Maybe it would be smart if you're acquiring just large, if you start to acquire large, and it was probably a bigger company. If you're acquiring large amounts of money, not just buying Bitcoin, but buying a positive cash flow investment where this company is making good money." And buying that company in order to be able to improve your own balance sheet and make it to where you're making a lot of extra money to be able to weather a crypto or Bitcoin winter, where it's you're not just one of these companies that has negative cash flow that it's turned into a Bitcoin treasury to try and recreate itself like a lot of these companies are doing, but instead you're making it to where you have a nice steady income where no matter what you could just keep buying Bitcoin with those funds. Even in the worst of weather. And I think that's kind of brilliant. That's very interesting. Smarter Web guys across the pond up 16% in pre-market. Very bouncy. And yes, somebody said Sequoians down 30% in pre-market, down to $1.40. This company has been completely reset from their Bitcoin treasury announcement. I am excited. I'll probably put at least $50,000 to $100,000 into it today.
All your time on right now?
Well, look, I run a investment firm that's got, a team. We do a lot of deals. We do things in the private market. We do things in the public market. We incubated businesses. We're trying.
Fuck, I might have to liquidate some CCCM today too, just to buy more Sequoians, honestly. I might do that. I fucking hate to say that, but I might actually do that. We'll see. Yeah, I just don't know. This is just a 30% drop in one day. Just seems too good to be true. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll put in an order for that. Give myself a little more money for the bounce.
Trying to build a firm that understands kind of this intersection.
Thank you, Jared Hoops and Luke, for becoming members. You can now talk in chat.
Section of the digital world or the internet native world and traditional finance. And so far, we've been able to put together a couple of deals that I think are pretty interesting, and we'll see how it goes.
What's the next big thing to move Bitcoin higher? Because it seems like you've gotten everything you wanted, haven't you, at this point?
Oh, there's still a lot more that we're looking for.
What do you want?
I think there's really three things that people are kind of paying attention to. The first is the United States government at some point is going to announce that they're buying Bitcoin. Creating the initial Bitcoin kind of strategic reserve and sitting the Bitcoin that we already had there was good, but that's kind of the, not the main dish. The main dish is when they start buying it, and I think that will happen at some point. The second thing I think you're going to see is some of the last standing people on Wall Street capitulate. And so there's a couple of firms that continue to say, hey, we think that this is speculative. We think this isn't good enough for our clients. I think that they'll kind of eventually give up and wave the white flag.
And then finally, Andrew Ross Sorkin decides it.
I think Andrew Ross Sorkin understands Bitcoin.
The very last.
No,
the last one.
No, I think that, look, there's a lot of folks who rightfully so historically have been, I think one time you and I talked in public, and I said, I put you in the category of you were cautiously optimistic.
I've been cautiously optimistic the whole time.
And I think that's a very fair position to take, but now I do think that it's transitioning.
You've been optimistic about Bitcoin the whole time.
Cautiously
Go back and find the tape. 2012 and 13.
Go back
okay, buddy.
2 years ago when it got down to 27,000, you were saying it's not a store of value. We've been saying it's not a store of value the entire ride.
Joe's on
But
fire
that's
today,
different
guys.
than whether it's a good trade. Go back and look at the tapes with the Winklevi twins.
I was here.
Coming on this show.
I was here.
2012-13. Go look.
Never really been.
What'd you say?
Bitcoin.
You said
Go look. Just go look. You can go find the tapes.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Thank you, Anthony.
He's such a stud.
Coming right back.
I love Joe, man. He ain't fucking around today. Real quickly, though, I want to look at something else. I want to look. Jesse, praying for your healing this week. Thanks, Ash. I appreciate it. New Apexi enters the equity agreement with AGP, allowing it to sell common stock at its discretion to fund its Solana Treasury strategy, $500 million. Wow. Wow. We're going to have to look at that one in a second here, too. But this is, again, we got trade rep Jameson Greer talking about the deal. And I think it's a good one, so I want to play this real quick.
Great. Do you want to look backwards or forward? We definitely want to talk about China, but we just had our own discussion about whether the Japan deal, the EU deal, whether they were net positives for both countries, net negatives, whether someone wins, someone loses, do consumers lose? Is it a good thing for the country in your view? I mean, obviously you think it is, but tell us why.
It's an amazing thing for our country. For 70 years, we followed a trade policy that maybe at a certain time made sense, but ultimately the net result was other countries had higher tariffs and non-tariff barriers on the United States. We had a very open economy, and a lot of it resulted in offshoring of manufacturing and jobs to other countries. President Trump is now reversing that through these deals. We're essentially reaching settlements with countries that are good for them and good for us, where we get to keep some level of tariff on the country, but we also open their markets to our exports. And this is how you get rid of trade deficits. It's how you create a manufacturing boom. So these are obviously huge net positives for America and American workers.
Go into some of the devil in the details for the
Somebody just asked if I'm bullish for UPEXI, UPXI. I want them to buy a bunch of Solana. I think that's the whole point of a treasury, is to dilute shareholders and buy a bunch of the underlying asset. Am I bullish like 3 months from now for these kind of treasuries for Ethereum and Solana? Probably not. But again, all things are subject to change with new data. I just don't. Again, I'm a pretty modest guy. If I get to my 12 million target and I've done really, really well, I'm probably going to be dialing out of a shit ton of this. That's just the way it is.
The EU deal. Is everyone going to be driving an American car now, and they're going to get rid of all the Mercedes and Porsches and Audis?
Correct. Every single European will be driving an American vehicle. No, but they are going to be reducing their tariffs. They're going to be accepting aspects of American auto standards. They're going to be reducing their tariffs on all industrial goods shipped by the U.S. So think chemicals, medical devices, et cetera. They're going to be reducing their tariffs.
Oh, it died. Fuck. All right. Whatever. So anyway, he had a great discussion with it. I might try and bring it up again here. I do want to see super quick. So again, I wanted to show that because I wanted to show how the trade deal is a positive. Let me just move something real quick. I got to move this around and get it on my other screen. I wanted to show how the trade deal was a positive for what's going on with the United States. Again, we have a delay in kind of what's going on with China with the trade deal. And then we had the European Union one, which was amazing. And I don't know if you guys got to listen to the head of the EU. What is her name again? It's not Angela Merkel. That's the German lady. For some reason, it escapes me at the second. But she just, you could tell that she was just eating crow with that deal and just couldn't, not very happy about it. Almost $1 billion to buy more BTC. Who's doing that? Mara Holdings completes. Oh, they complete their upsized offering. Cool. They're up 3% in pre-market. I want to show a bunch of charts here. We're probably Ursula. Yeah, I hate that bitch so much. But anyway, it was great though to see that happening. So let's scroll down here real quick. So again, we got a bunch of buys, guys. We've got Alt BG acquiring 58 more Bitcoin for 5.9 million. That gives them a total of 2013. Not really an aggressive strategy, at least over the short term with them. You'd think that they'd be working to acquire more. Their yield for the year, though, is ridiculous at 1,409%. I own a little bit of that one. We also, again, have Metaplanet with their MNAV that was at 2.88, up 5% in the Japanese markets, only up 2.6 in the German. And again, we won't really see volumes until we open up in the United States here. But if we keep scrolling down, somebody put, I can't imagine there will ever be a better time again than right now. This gap fill seems like the perfect time for a reset for the stock and a new path forward. They're talking about Sequoians. I 100% agree. You said Coincilium was dead. Let's look at that one real quick. I think it got butchered on Friday. I agree with that. Definitely got butchered. This thing is down 93% from its high. The good thing is that it's pretty much completely reset as well. There are no gap fills in this one. They bought more Bitcoin. It says a 25 million cap. I think that's in British pounds. I could be wrong, which means it's probably closer to like 30 or 40. If my math translation is right, you guys let me know. I do like though with this one, I mean, this is kind of the overshoot, right? I think the Bitcoin treasuries have all bled dramatically. And the upside based on where we are in pre-market, I mean, is 1,257%. Now, don't get me wrong. This has been one of my worst plays. I probably got into this one way too early, and it hasn't done super well. But I do think, did I sell game? I'm 100% out of game. If a company is going to buy a fucking NFT with a third of the money that they're spending for the day instead of buying Ethereum, and then they're going to call it a strategic acquisition, buying a $5+ million cowboy crypto punk, I'm fucking out. So I don't care what happens with the stock. I'm out. And then they blocked me after I commented about it. So fuck them. But yeah, so this one, could it be dead? It is the smaller player in the UK. It's definitely not Smarter Web. It's growing at a lower rate. If we look at the Forza tracker, let me find it over here. Right here. Is this the Forza tracker? Yeah, it is. If we look at the Forza tracker and compare them against like Smarter Web, you could see how they're just not keeping up with the same pace. I like Andrew better, but again, it's a super small cap, and so it could turn out really, really good. I'm still holding my position. I haven't sold anything. I'm not in options. I'm just in the stock. I don't know that I'd recommend it. The fees are high. But again, the adjusted MNAV, it says on this one as of Friday, is 4.27. That is a fraction of what it was. The adjusted MNAV over here, guys, on 6/23 was 32.48. And then the actual MNAV, I think it's, no, although they don't show it in the screen. I think the actual MNAV was closer to like 50. So again, it's been beaten down pretty fucking hard. Game is creating an NFT space, part of the big, okay, that's great. Fuck that. I don't care. NFTs are trash. I get digital securities. I get all that stuff. I get that. Like, I get in-game stuff. But if you're buying a fucking image for $5 million that serves no purpose outside of being an image on a chain, and it's supposed to be some kind of collectible, that sounds more like money laundering to me and less like strategic acquisition. I would have thought people learned not to buy NFTs from the last cycle when they got butchered and they lost 99% of their value. Justin Bieber bought one, I think, for like $10 million. It's worth like 50 fucking cents now. So I don't know. I just find all that stuff to be really stupid. I've always thought that. I've never bought an NFT my entire fucking life. I thought they were asinine last time I tried to tell people to get out of them. But they were telling me how it was the next thing and how the future was NFTs. And I feel bad for them because they lost fucking everything. And those are my real life friends and ones on here, right? So real quickly, so somebody asked, I made a post here talking about Bitcoin miners. I said these aren't my favorite, but I said they're looking pretty good. I said that CleanSpark, you can see where on the first fib line, it had back tested after rejecting off this downward trend line that started in March of last year. Long time. Super, super painful, these. Still up 91% from its low in April. And again, rejecting, now bouncing off of this up 2.96 right now. And again, it's one of those things where I think it's got a quick and easy trip towards right up over here towards like the $16 range where it's going to hit peak volumes. Once we break above this longer term downward trend line, it's off. And I think we at least go to the $33 range on this miner. That would give it about a $10 billion cap since they're not diluting a lot. So I think that would be good for CleanSpark. But somebody asked in here, AJ said, how would you rank your top 3 to 5 players over the next 6 months, sir? ETH, Treasury, BTC, Treasury, etc. I said my time frame is only 3 months. So to be clear, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not going out. I'm not saying this time is different and all that kinds of stuff. I'm just not doing it. Not yet. I might agree with some of that later. I'll probably still be at least 70% out. Like still, no matter what, right? Even if I think this time is different, I'd rather be in like IBIT and Bitcoin near the end and I'd rather be wrong and still just make a bunch of money and have $12 to $20 million sitting in my account. But I said ETH and Sol treasuries are probably going to run harder and faster over the short term. Bitcoin treasuries. That said, though, Bitcoin treasuries have definitely seen a bottom. I think they're really close to it, right? So maybe they outperform over the short term. Very possible, especially with MicroStrategy earnings coming up. But SBET and BMNR, I don't know. I think it's all going up, but you're going to get a higher growth rate probably, especially with Solana treasuries that are pretty small right now, and maybe with Ethereum too, just because I think Ethereum's going to run harder. So I think some of these could do better over the short term. Could be wrong, though. That's why I own it all, right? I'm mostly allocated to Bitcoin treasuries. Then I have a smaller position in Ethereum treasuries, but still a pretty substantial one. Not $1 million, but probably at least 800,000, if not more. And then Solana, I have a lesser position, maybe half that, looking to add more. So again, I'm allocated to all of these spaces. I don't really care. I don't like to do the bantering back and forth of like, this one's the best, blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking care. Solana's the best in regard to transactions. I think like 92% of the transactions that are happening online, at least with the crypto section, are Solana. So if you look at it based upon like how low the fees are, how much revenue is being made in fees, all these other things, it looks better than Ethereum. But then institutional adoption of Ethereum, you've got like, again, BlackRock digital asset people moving into SBET. You've got Tom Lee being supportive of BMNR, and you have just a bunch of other great people, including ARK Invest, Kathy Wood, that are all getting behind these narratives with Ethereum and stablecoins. So I think they're all going to do good. And I just want to own all of it. And so I said strong players, I believe in Ethereum or BMNR and SBET, Solana, I think DFDV and UPEXI. And then Bitcoin, I think Metaplanet, Smarter Web Company, Sequoians, and H100. I didn't put MicroStrategy because I think it just is what it is. Sui's the fastest. Yeah. So again, everybody has their own favorite shitcoin. Sui is just a lot less known, and shitcoins are going to do really good, I think. I don't care though. I'm not in Sui right now, or I might have some. I don't remember. I don't really give a shit. I just don't care. I don't care about like my coin's got a bigger dick than yours. I don't fucking care about any of that stuff. It's not really my jam. I just try and own a bunch of the things that I think have the highest chance of success and have a good risk to reward without dialing too far down the risk curve. That's my thing. MB, Sui is soul for next cycle, not for now. Yeah, see, everybody has like different opinions on timing and all. And then somebody's going to be like, oh, well, Sui's okay, but these other things are so much better. Have you looked at Graph something? There's just always shit like that. All right, so Smarter Web Company up almost 16% in pre-market, guys. I'm hoping you guys did some buy-in last week when everybody was freaking out. Because it seems like that was probably the right move. XRP has a huge fan base. I know, dude, and I hate that fucker so much. I hate XRP so much. There's very few coins that I actually dislike. XRP is at the exact top of that list because Brad Garlinghouse is a douchebag. He's about as... And the weirdest part to me was seeing all the MAGA people that are like, Bitcoin is trash run by the communist government of China, and XRP is the true like liberty thing. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But again, there's fan bases for all these things. People love to marry their bags. They're like, oh baby, you look so hot right now. I don't care if you go up 10,000%. I'm still gonna buy you and hold you and never sell you because you're always gonna get better. I don't get any of it. Ted Petey, every one of my friends who got nothing to do with investments in crypto know XRP. Isn't that crazy? They don't know shit about any of this, but they're like, XRP is the jam. XRP is so great, guys. They run their company by diluting the shit out of this coin and then transferring that money over and then paying all their bills. Isn't that great? Who doesn't love that? Just the infinite supply of XRP that they can generate. The fact that they wanted to be the central bank digital currency for the United States so that they could control what you do with your own money. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, fuck Bitcoin. Fuck that decentralization and all that kind of stuff. We want to be controlled by somebody. And those same people are like the MAGA people who believe in liberty and all these other things. And they're shitting on Bitcoin and talking about how XRP is the best thing in the entire world. Blows my fucking mind. Blows my mind. Anyway, Coincilium, nobody cares about that. Up 3% though, across the pond. Gotta love it. Everything's up. Everything's up. I love that. I love that MicroStrategy's up 3%. Jim Chanos was shitting on me last week. He was mocking me and talking about how people should subscribe to my X account in a not so flattering way. Jim, I'm very excited to see you get wrecked. I'm not normally that way. I'm not normally that petty. But today I am. Matthew Purdy, doesn't Ripple hold a limited supply of XRP in escrow? I don't think they can print. Dude, they print shit all the fucking time. watch the market cap. What? Yeah, dude. Look at the market cap of XRP over time, and look at the price of the coin. Yeah. It's trash. XRP is utter trash. But keep it if you want it. You guys do you. Doesn't bother me a bit. All right, let's keep going. Let's see if Fundstrat has anything today. We've got earnings. We've got the Fed this week. We've got all these trade deals. It is insanity. Let's look at 728 earnings real quickly here. I don't know if we have a new video from Fundstrat. I don't think we do. 161 companies are reporting this week. 169 companies that have reported so far. 34% right now. Overall, 83% are beating estimates, and that beat are a median of 4%. That's about the way it's been. Of the 16% missing, there are by a median of -5. So this number's gotten a little worse. This number over here with the median number for the companies that are missing, but it's only 16%, so it's a low number. On the top line, overall results are beating estimates by a median of 3% and missing by a median of -1%, and 79% of those are reporting beating estimates. All that said, there's probably been a lot of revisions downward because of fears of tariffs and all that other stuff. So, but not bad. Not a bad earnings seasons. I don't think there's much else in here. So we got, what do we have? Stocks break records. That is something to talk about. Somebody said this a second ago. Let's look at the fear and greed. It's probably still pretty high on the stock market and maybe in crypto. Yeah, we're on the edge of extreme greed right now. Let's look at this on a bigger time frame. Let's go to macro, micro, and see if this will come up. Let's go to here. I know I'm paying, or I thought I was paying for this. Maybe I switched a card out or something. Let's see. Fear. No, not now. Thank you. Fear and greed. Fear. Oh, okay. Fear. European, US. There we go. Okay. I might have to resubscribe to this if I'm not already, but I think I can get the long haul. Yeah, we can. Okay, cool. So this is all the time frame, right? Like this goes back to May 2021. So this gives you a lot more historical than what you just get on the CNN Fear and Greed. If you look at the timeline over here, it only goes back to July of 2024. So you don't get a really good picture. But if we jump over here, we can see that, yes, again, we are on the edge of extreme greed, right? This blue line right over here. But again, if we go back and look at some time frames like December of 2023, we were in this same range and didn't really even drop out of it until April 1st. And then over here, again, we kind of drifted up into this range in June of 2023, the beginning of June 2023, didn't exit it until about August 2nd of 2023. So June, July, and so at least 2 months in that range. And so again, there's periods of time where this can stay up in this range for a long period of time. We haven't even broken out, if you're looking at this here, we haven't even broken out into the really high levels of extreme greed yet. So I think we could be up here for months, which lines up pretty good with my theory that we're going to be able to have about 3 more months of upside price action in Bitcoin before we kind of have a blow off. And again, if we get to $150,000 or $200,000 Bitcoin, somewhere in that range, I think that's a good one to delever. And that's what my plan is. And that has not changed. Let's look real quickly though. Actually, let's look at the crypto fear and greed. So that's gotten even better. We're almost down to neutral. We're at 67 right now. So the coin market cap version of this is saying that we're not actually sitting that bad compared to like what's going on in stocks. Now, if you look at the alternative, the original one, it says we're in greed. This thing is always in that range. It looks so fucking broken, in my opinion. If you go back, like, look at this. If you go back a year, it's look at this. Since like April, it's saying that we're in the greed range, and that's just, I don't know. It just seems very broken. So I like CoinMarketCap better. Let's check out Trueflation, and then we'll look at economic data. Trueflation has us at 2%. Oh, it says I need to sign up. I don't know if I just switched credit cards or something. I might have. With all this credit stuff I did with my house, I might have to re-sign up for some shit. Does someone know when CleanSpark earnings are? Yeah, I can tell you. Give me 2 seconds. Their earnings are on August 12th. So, and then Mara is on July 29th. So Mara will be a better sign of kind of what's happening with earnings before you even hear from CleanSpark. And both of those miners are up 3% in pre-market, which is cool. Let's real quickly, though, refresh over here and look at economic data. What informs your decision to dump them for other better investments? I haven't dumped them. I haven't sold any of it. Better investments. I mean, or I shouldn't say that. I did sell some Mara as it was going up. I was like at $900,000 in it, and it's dropped down to like 300 because it got royally crushed after their dilution news. But I did sell some of that because it was doing really well, and it's an option. And I used that to buy other treasuries. So I did do some of that. Let's look here. U.S. All we have is Dallas Fed. I'll probably be gone before that comes out, but that's at 9:30 a.m. Outside of that, we really got nothing. We got bill issuance. That's not really going to matter. Treasury refunding financing estimates. I don't know. We can, that might be something to look at tomorrow. Excuse me. Tomorrow we got good trades balance, retail inventories, ex autos, wholesale, S&P, Case-Shiller, home prices, a bunch of home price data, Jolt job openings, consumer confidence, Dallas Fed services. Tomorrow is a big day for data. Today, nothing. So we really got nothing to look at on that front. But yeah, tomorrow should be super interesting. Will you acquire any DJT at these levels? Nah. Which one is that? Are you talking about the Truth Social? I don't touch Truth Social. I think it's a shitty platform. And so I don't care. I don't care if it has some kind of Trump effect. I don't touch Trump coin anymore either because I got super burned on it. I think I lost like half my money on it that I put in. George, and again, it might do well. I just don't give a shit. I've given up on a lot of the lower cryptos. I just don't care enough. I don't have time. George, how would you compare SBET and BMNR? Is one better at entry point than the other? So I think they're both great. I think they both have great teams. Bitmine has more. If you look over here, they've got more Bitcoin or more Ethereum, but at the same time, they have 567. I think SBET bought more over the weekend, so they're sitting already at like 460 or something. So this needs to update. So this is a race. SBET has a lower MNAV right now. I don't know if this is including the latest purchases. The MNAV's higher on BMNR, but you have the Tom Lee effect too, and Vlad, like all these guys have are doing well. And Bitmine is sitting at 4.47 billion for a market cap, whereas SharpLink is sitting at 2.2. I think those numbers are right. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I do think this is reflecting correctly. But I think all of these are going to do well. I think Ether Machine is looking to be really aggressive too. It's going to be interesting. There's so many of these companies that are growing like crazy. I'm probably not dialing too far down the risk curve with these. I think I'm probably just good. But it's been amazing to watch them pass the Ethereum Foundation and just literally blow the doors off of them. If you look over here, guys, the rate of growth, we'll see if any of these guys ended up buying. Again, well, this we know they did. We know SBET did. So this still needs to update. This is as of or as of the 27th. I don't think this includes even what happened here more recently. It doesn't include anything that just happened with SBET or any of these others. I already talked about Sequoians earlier. They're down about 27%. They filled the gap. I did a post about it under the Sequoians community group, Akash, so check that out. I'm buying this morning. I'm probably going to put $50,000 to $100,000 in it. Depends. I'm probably going to buy some options. I might even buy the stock. But the rate of growth that I wanted to show here, guys, these are just the Bitcoin treasuries. We went from 112,960 being held in Ethereum treasuries between 5 entities on April 4th to now, this is already outdated, 2.315 million. That's probably like 2.5 or 2.6 now. So you've seen like a 24x from that time in April to July. That's insane. And it's not even just here. If you look at Ethereum holdings, guys, look at this. Look at this. Look at the rate of growth since July 7th. And this, or I'm sorry, in ETF Ethereum holdings. This is July, let's say July 3rd, 4.3 million. Today, 5.8. So we're just seeing wicked growth rates here. What does it say right here? It says total strategic ETH reserves of the existing supply right now, over 2% of them, because this needs to be updated, are in Ethereum treasuries. And that number went from like almost nothing to 2% really quick. And then you have the ETFs making up almost 5%. So you've got almost 7% maybe right now sitting in ETF or in ETFs and Ethereum treasuries. I think these are both solid solid plays. I will say this: the one that's likely to return less is going to be most likely the Tom Lee BMNR, just because of its size. It's twice the size already of SharpLink Gaming in regard to market cap, if this number is correct. So you just have to keep that in mind. Bookends, Sequoians actually earns money in their core business. Not sure why they're getting beat up so bad. Yeah, they are, but they've got negative cash flow, which isn't great. Here, just real quickly, I'll just fucking show you this again. Let me go to groups. And again, you can go back in the video and look at this more. I'm just going to highlight it real quick. Let me see. A bunch of people freaking out. They're just idiots. Wowzers. Everyone stay calm. These people are nuts. Yeah, so anyway, over here, gap fill. It's filling the gap. It's almost perfectly on the gap fill right now. Down, it's 146 or $1.46. That's literally where the volumes are and fills the gap fill. It also means that they're down 75% from their high. It means they have an MNAV of like 0.7, maybe lower. This is a great opportunity, in my opinion, and I'm going to take advantage of it. Again, I've lost a decent amount on this one already, especially since I was in options, but options have a wicked way of coming back when they do. I got to hit the restroom real quick, though. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to see if I can find you a good video, though, while I do that. So let me refresh super quick, because there's that one I wanted you guys to hear from earlier. So let me see if it's in here. U.S. ambassador expects a U.S.-China trade deal. Ooh, that's interesting. Let's listen to that. 1 second here. And then I'll hit the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back after I give you some volume.
A trade deal, and now the focus turns to the world's second largest economy. Trade talks between the Trump administration and China are underway in Stockholm. Joining us right now with the latest is Nicholas Burns. He served as U.S. ambassador to China in the Biden administration, and he worked under 6 presidents of both parties. He's now a professor at Harvard's Kennedy School. And Ambassador, thank you for being with us today. Let's talk through what's at stake with China. It feels like this negotiation is bigger, more complex, and maybe will take longer than just about any of the other negotiations we've seen to this point. But people had a lot of questions about the EU, too. What's your sense about where we are in terms of progress with this?
Well, Becky, it looks like if you look at what President Trump and the Chinese have been saying, it looks like this is heading towards a deal. I would think sometime in the autumn. And a trade deal is necessary to have a summit meeting. And I think both countries want to have a summit meeting between President Trump and President Xi.
Ambassador, I think we've lost the audio. Mr. Ambassador, I think we've lost the audio there.
Okay.
Can anybody else hear him?
I cannot hear him. And It's nice to see you. He looks great. He can probably hear us maybe saying that, but I don't think we can hear him. Can you hear us, Ambassador?
Hear you fine.
Oh,
okay.
Great. And you're back.
Oh, okay.
Sir, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't know if that was your microphone or if that was in our ears. It was off for us, I think. And it came back when Andrew came back. So I'm going to assume everybody else heard you. Sorry for interrupting, but you said you think this reaches agreement potentially in August. A lot of questions about what's going to be included with this. What level would you guess in terms of the tariffs overall? And what else will be included in terms of security? Is TikTok going to be part of this?
Becky, I don't know if this trade deal will be finished in August. I think certainly by autumn, because President Xi and President Trump want to meet in October and November. And the Chinese tradition is they don't work things out at the table with President Xi and the foreign leader. They want everything worked out ahead of time. So this may take some time, but frankly, the U.S. has some leverage here. I think it's good for President Trump to have finished the Japan and EU deals. That gives some help to the U.S. side. But this is complicated because the Chinese are going to ask for an end or a freezing of U.S. technology constraints on China. And that's going to be, I hope that's going to be difficult for the Trump administration to agree to. You saw that the Trump administration agreed to NVIDIA selling H20 chips to China. There are some reports this morning that the Chinese are asking the U.S. to freeze all technology restrictions by the U.S. on China. I think that would be a great mistake from a national security standpoint, because we don't want the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, to be acquiring the most advanced American technology to outcompete the U.S. military. To me, that's the biggest issue in these trade talks.
Yeah, I mean, both parties for some time have been convinced that there are real security issues in dealing with China. The argument has been made with NVIDIA that if you are not on the forefront.
Yeah, I don't know where I sit on this. I'm somewhere in between. I think that it sounds like the equipment that we're giving them is like several generations and probably like at least 3 years behind current gen. But again, they have lots of energy in China. And so can they get to a point where they're comparable or even better? I don't think they can. I think there's so many issues with AI in China because of the fact that they lie. They lie all the time and they censor information all the time. And I think it makes it to where they just can't compete on a level playing field where the truth is allowed and you have AIs like Grok that are maximum truth seeking. I don't think they can benefit the way that we can benefit. I just don't think they can. I think the censorship makes it too difficult. And I don't think they should get latest tech. I think Jensen Huang, for some reason, is too driven on them being able to do that. And I think we do have to worry about them from a military perspective. But I think we're kind of drawing a fine line where we're doing it right. I don't know. Time will tell. Definitely something to monitor.
Of trying to power the AI race, you're going to get left behind as a nation. Do you agree with that?
Oh, and guys, I wanted to say something real quick. Tanner from Future Invest, I don't know if you guys know him too well. He asked me to maybe do a podcast on his show to talk about Ethereum. So I'm probably going to do that. So that should be fun.
Well, I certainly heard that from a lot of the tech companies when I was ambassador until January of this year, and I sympathize with it. But the problem is, our most important national security interest is not being overtaken by the People's Liberation in power in the next 10 years. And
agreed.
And as AI and other technologies are militarized, as they certainly shall be, we don't want to be the second most powerful military in the Indo-Pacific. And so that's a national security concern that I frankly felt had been agreed to by Republicans and Democrats over the last couple of years. There was bipartisan support for the restrictions on advanced semiconductor technologies that President Biden put on China. So that's a big Chinese ask in these negotiations as we go forward.
Although we've seen the Chinese retaliate very effectively with the ban that they put on rare earths minerals, with magnets, with some of these things and what they can do in return. We're pretty tied up with all of the chips being made and manufactured in Taiwan. There's so many different things that are at play here. I hear you, and it's happening with the backdrop of, probably the Chinese that were behind this break into Microsoft with its SharePoint 0 days, too. So there's a lot of things happening between the two. What takes the forefront, security or trade?
Well, I think for the United States, it has to be security. Obviously, we want our tech companies to do well, but there have to be some constraints on what we sell to China. Becky, an additional factor here is even if the two sides, and there's a truce right now, can agree to a final deal, what will happen to the sectoral tariffs that President Biden put on China? 100% on Chinese EVs, 50% on semiconductors, 25% on lithium batteries. I would imagine that the Trump administration would want to hold on to those, to continue to apply them. Otherwise, U.S. automobile manufacturers will be engulfed by BYD and other lower-priced and very high-quality Chinese exports.
Yeah, we're not going to let that happen. I don't see that happening.
So I don't think this is a negotiation that can be finished in a week or two. This is extremely complicated. But I think, President Trump has been right to be tough-minded with the Chinese, because if you think about forced technology transfer, IP theft, what the Chinese are doing to keep U.S. companies out of the Chinese market, this has to be a tough-nosed negotiation, and it may take a little bit more time.
Agreed.
Were you upset with the H20 sales of NVIDIA chips? I mean, those were chips that were specifically designed for China to try and prevent them from getting them.
Oh, it's my buddy Future Invest, Tanner. I'll show you in a second.
Most updated chips allow them to do things from a commercial perspective, but not military.
Well, the Biden administration had prohibited those, and the early steps of the Trump administration had been quite tough on all such technology exports to China. So it is the tip of the iceberg. And there are some reports out there that the Chinese are going to ask for a lot more. I hope the Trump administration will hold the line, because there's nothing more important than retaining our military edge over China in the next 10 years.
I do agree with that. And we'll see where it ends up going. That's the end of that one. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull it off here and get it off the screen. But yeah, I do agree with what he's saying. China is a very dangerous military adversary, and they have the ability to outmanufacture us right now. So it's got to be a fine line that we hold with China. They are dealing with maximum pressure, though, guys. But again, I'm liking what I'm seeing here for Sequoian, because we've already done what I said here, which is I think we have up to 20% downside risk to fill this daily gap on the corner. And we've done that. We're actually sitting here in pre-market. Let me see what it's at right now. $1.44, down 27%. So we're literally right at this other volume shelf. We've closed the daily gap. When we open up there, this feels very S-betty. Not as far down, though. It's only down 74%, 75% from its high, but it's basically at pre-announcement levels. And I think Sequoians is a good one. I think Swan is a good company. They're managing their strategy. I think Ben Workman is an honest, genuine person who's put his name behind this project. And I think that having Michael Saylor retweeting your buys is a good thing. He's talked to these people. He knows these people. He's supportive of their projects and their success. And so I think that good things are coming from this. I think some people just didn't realize the pipe and the warrants that were being issued, and including probably myself, and I didn't realize how far it could drop. But I'm buying. I think this is one where it's like, okay, you took some losses, you got in too soon, but this is a good opportunity. And if we are seeing the bottom of the treasuries, which I believe we are, and why do I say that? Why do I say I think we're seeing the bottom of the treasuries? Because companies like Smarter Web dropped a huge amount. Let's just look here. Let's get this updated here. So Smarter Web dropped almost 75% from its high, and now is bouncing off and looking good. This is a drop out of. I mean, this is a descending wedge. Obvious buying pressure here with these wicks that we're seeing over here, and again, you're seeing some high volume over on this daily time frame too. And if we look at the week, let's see how the week looks. The week is harder to digest. You can't really see; they're all pretty even. But again, you can see strong volumes right over here off this wick that went all the way down to like 280, and then again strong volumes right over here off this wick that went all the way down to 228. That's what you want to see. You want to see that there's strength and there's buying pressure, and today we're benefiting from that as we're up 16% and across the pond in the UK. Jesse, do you ever look at the MRVRZ score when looking at cycles? Yeah, I look at a bunch of things. That's one of them. I don't know if I have CryptoQuant up right now, but there's a bunch of different indicators. That's a good one, and it shows that we're not over yet. Do you have a target exit prices for TSWCF? Yeah, but I look at the underlying mostly. And again, so I'm looking at the UK for the most part. And I think this thing can go up a lot from where we're at. Let me see what I have right here. Again, this is just off the move from over here from May 28th. Honestly, you could probably even draw it all the way down. But I was just showing what the move is over here just to reestablish after this peak drop, and that's getting a little higher than the previous high of 882. That's 163% upside. I think we can easily go to the 13 range. I think we can easily go to the 21 range, which again, this is a little confusing because this is showing British pounds over here, but I think we can go up a lot. I think this thing can 10x. I think it can 10x. And also, if you just look over here, guys, with Smarter Web, you could see the growth rate is incredibly expansive. There's some that started a lot higher and that are going to be very aggressive as well. But if we just look at the MNAV over time, look at this thing. Over here, the MNAV was 17.73. And again, these get smaller over time. 14.03, 14.99. And then when everybody was getting euphoric, 21.44. Do I think we're getting to 21.44 again? No. Can we get to 10x though? Can we get to 10x or 12x? Yes, I think we totally could. And right now, when you're sitting in the threes, A 12x sounds really good. So that's just, and that's not even including the amount of Bitcoin that they're acquiring in this race, right? Days to cover right now is insane, guys. Days to cover is 11. So it's saying on August 8th, this thing is going to be sitting at basically market value. That's what we're looking at. August 8th, we're gonna be at 1x MNAV at the rate of acquisition, and then again, just based on time, this thing will be at 1x, which means it'll be fairly valued for its Bitcoin. And I'm thinking, so again, if we just zoom out here, I don't think the cycle ends until at least September, right? Like, let's say the middle of September. Let's say that the Fed ends up lowering rates, and it turns out to be a really bad thing. I think that's right around the middle of September. If this thing is at, I think at one point here, it could be at 3 to 4x MNAV. You're talking 5,600 British pounds. So if we go back over here and look at SWC, that is 20x what we currently are. So I'm really bullish on this company. I think it can go up a lot. And I think even if it 10x's, and it's just what is it? It says 319 million on here. Is that the actual? I think that's wrong. Let me look over at the exchange it is currently listed on. And again, I think we're going to get an uplisting on this company too. I think a lot of good things can happen with this company. Market cap, yeah. So market cap's 577 million US dollars, I believe. I believe that's what this is. Price in British pounds. Is that British? The Smarter has a market cap of 577 million. I think this is US dollars. So in US dollars, it's 577 million. I think that's right. If you guys could confirm that too, that would be amazing. But if somebody could look at that and confirm. But if that's true, and this thing 10x's and it goes to 5 billion, is that a crazy number? I don't think so. Metaplanet was at like 8 billion not too long ago. So I think this is very doable. I think if they're aggressive, if they can use the same tools, if they can get a nice ATM, if they can do a lot of the same stuff, get the options volume uplist on a different exchange, if they can do these things, I think they're going to do really, really well. Doesn't mean they have to, but again, that's why we diversify. Let's look here. Altcoin, again, still screaming higher. But if we look at Bitcoin, let's switch terms here. So altcoins, people are actually getting interested in because, again, they always like to look for more risk. Bitcoin, though, 2004 to present, look at this. Non-existent. Nobody gives a shit about Bitcoin. Isn't that phenomenal? Let's go back here and look at 5 years. Is this right? Oh, just the United States. Let's go worldwide. Still, crazy fucking low. Crazy low. Look at this. Crazy low. The term Bitcoin, nobody is searching for it. Nobody. Isn't that nuts? Let's go YouTube search. Yeah, look at this, guys. Just look at this. There's no interest in Bitcoin whatsoever. This blows my fucking mind. Alexander Hill says, Jesse, it is not in blah, blah, blah. It's in pence, 250. So I think you mean a top of maybe 50, not 5,000. Oh, okay. Let me look. I'll have to do the math in this. So you're saying over here in pence, 2,500 pence for 2x. Well, let's say that it gets to 5x MNAV again, which again, I was saying it could get to 10. That is 7,400 pence. And what are we at right now? 223. We're at 223 pence. I think the math is still good, even if I'm making the wrong reference to the currency. It's still good. It's still crazy math. This is fucking nuts. Like, this is crazy. Let's see. Are we at 63 or 270? Yeah, SWC price. Yeah, we're at the twos. We're in the twos right now, guys. So if this is right, if we could have an MNAV of 5x in the middle of September, and this thing's at 6,000 pins, that is a fucking crazy number. That's a crazy number, because if we look over here right now, what are we at? 250? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. 250? And right now, yeah, it was at 217 as of close. And if we look over here, this is referencing 217 as of close. And we're saying that the projection could get a lot higher than that. So that's a huge number. Yeah, we don't care about bucks. Don't worry. Don't get lost in translation about dollar amounts, man. It's not worth doing. But this is a huge difference. These are huge gains that you could look at with this thing. All right. Anyway, let's keep going. I still don't see anything from Tom Lee. I'm going to refresh real quick just to make sure I didn't miss any videos from him. He's been pretty quiet. He's probably quiet. Chart of the day, private commitments. Chart of the day, good morning. China owes much of its dominance in the global production and critical minerals, government's direct involvement. Let's see what this is. John is a man of focus, commitment, sheer will, Vigo, John Wick. Okay. AAII, net bulls, less bears, S&P 500. So you can see where the net bulls, less bears, is this still where we're at? So we've seen huge upside, and yet we're not even that high on net bulls, less bears. So still incredibly bearish sentiment. Let me read this real quick. China owes much of its dominance in the global production of critical metals and minerals to its government's direct ownership and control in the production and sales of such materials on global markets. This level of government support, which state-owned enterprises as cornerstone augmented by government-funded research into the ore processing methods, has allowed Beijing to flood global commodity markets, effectively engaging in what many would describe as market manipulation to keep prices low and thus strengthen barriers to entry for any would-be non-Chinese competitors. President Donald Trump's recent decision for the Department of Defense to take a significant stake in MP Materials can be seen as an attempt by the president to counter by stealing a page from China's playbook. As a part of the deal, Pentagon will effectively set a partial floor on revenues for the company by agreeing to purchase neodymium and blah, blah, blah oxide output from a planned mine for 10 years at a price well above current market levels. MP Materials is far from becoming a state-owned enterprise, but it's quite a bit closer to being one that, being one that in it was at the beginning of the year. MP Materials competitors are not particularly happy. Unlike China's support, Trump's move does not support the industry as a whole. In fact, arguably puts those other companies at a greater disadvantage than before. The price floor aspect of the DoD's deal also alarms free market proponents. I get that. Yes, this isn't Trump's only move in this direction. Under the president's direction, the U.S. now also owns a golden share in U.S. Steel, a demand to which Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel were forced to submit in order to complete an acquisition by the latter. While the White House will not be overseeing day-to-day operations at the combined company, the golden share gives the federal government broad authority over many company decisions. A recent trade agreement between the U.S. and Japan also reportedly moves in that direction in a different way. In exchange for less stringent tariffs, Japan reportedly, in theory, agreed to invest $550 billion in the U.S. This, in and of itself, is not groundbreaking since Japan is already the largest foreign investor in the U.S. The catch, the U.S., which at least until January 2029 basically means Trump, will reportedly decide where those investments are allocated and keep 90% of the profits generated as a result. For Japan, at least, this appears to be the current price for doing business with Americans. It's worth noting that comments by Japanese officials suggest that this and other aspects of the investment agreement have yet to be formally documented and agreed upon in writing. Some in the U.S. are skeptical that this investment commitment is binding or that it will come to fruition. State-owned enterprises are not unheard of in the U.S. We have two long-term federal SOEs, the U.S. Postal Service and Amtrak Passenger Rail Service. I don't like state-owned businesses at all. The former appears to enjoy a broad level of bipartisan support among the American public. Aside from the National Park Service, no federal agency or entity has a higher favorability rating, but neither can be said to be major or even minor successes from a business perspective. Oh, this is long. I might have to read this myself and digest it and just regurgitate. Oh, no, it's not too bad. Despite lackluster financial performance, both have at least been tolerated because mail delivery and mass transit are arguably part of the public good. Plus, with regard to the Postal Service, who wants to dispute the wisdom of founding father Benjamin Franklin. However, it can be argued that President move in the direction might push the boundaries of what Americans have conservatively believed should be the limit of government involvement in private enterprise. And further, such moves might be coming. The president in February proposed the creation of the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund. Now, I like the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And I get it. We don't want to have state-owned businesses at all, but we do need to fight what's going on against China. And I think having these golden share commitments will be a positive. I think that there's going to be companies. We need to find the companies that do the best and find the ones that are the most efficient, the most innovative, and we need to invest in them as a public good. And we need to make it to where these kids that are getting born are getting their $1,000 or whatever invested in these funds, and that's going into like a sovereign wealth fund investment, and that the United States should start benefiting from the success of great companies. Now, I do have worries about this because Donald Trump, again, supportive of Tesla and then not so much, and then threatening Elon's companies. It worries me that this can be used as a weapon, and there's just stuff about Trump I don't like, man. He might be a fucking pedophile. So, but I think all in all, I think that we've got to do some stuff like this to be competitive with China. I do wish that we were supporting entire industries, though, and not just picking winners. I don't love that at all. Anyway, state-owned enterprises have achieved some great successes. Saudi Aramco, Singapore's Temasek are evidence of that. Yet on the negative side, only one only need look at Venezuela's Petroles de Venezuela. Yeah, I mean, Venezuela's got its own problems. Interesting read. I don't think we're getting anything from Tom Lee today. PayPal allows Bitcoin and some crypto for U.S. merchants for payment. Yeah, but I don't know. PayPal is just a shitty woke fucking company, and I haven't seen anything that really makes me think any differently of it. Dario spotted a leaps call on Aspet January 2026 24C with an unusual volume. Can you take a look at that chart and run a quick technical analysis if you got a second? Yeah, we can look at Aspet real quick. Aspet has already done well. Again, BMNR and Aspet have both done well. It does appear to be finding support. It didn't get down to the golden retracement zone. It did drop a total of about 47% from its recent high, and then much more than that from its even, from where it was before we got interested in it on May 30th, when it was sitting at 120 something a share before they did a pretty massive dilution. So it does appear to me that it's bouncing off the first fib extension. And that's a good sign. We want to get above this hurdle of the 26 range, and then just continue our climb. But I do think that the fib retracement is pretty much finalizing on this one, and it's up 3.6% in pre-market. These have a very low MNAV, so I really, really do believe that we're probably finding the bottom in this one, just because the MNAV is so low for Aspet and for BMNR. What was it? Aspet's like 1.95 or something, and BMNR is like 2. I think people could get a lot more excited about these in the days ahead, and I think it's a pretty easy trip in my mind for Aspet to get up to 445%. That would, without a bunch of dilution, what are we sitting at right now for market cap? 2.2 billion. So we could be seeing like a 10 to 15 billion with dilution on Aspet, I think. But they have a massive earnings, because these guys were doing this before BMNR was, so they were buying this stuff much earlier. And if we just look here at the Ethereum Treasury, I think, can we go into that level of detail and see their buying history? Yeah, we can see some. So again, you can see on 623, before people were getting too excited about this stuff, they already had a decent reserve, but they bought again here, they bought again here, they bought again here, they bought on 712, 721. This doesn't go all the way back, but they have 460,000 Bitcoin or Ethereum right now. And again, they were buying at much lower levels. They're much lower levels, so they're going to have a really good earnings. I'm lagging. Am I lagging? It doesn't look like I'm lagging. You might want to refresh. I don't know. We didn't do a lot in regard to bookmarks here and just going through stuff. Again, there's so many treasuries that are bought right now, guys. If we just look at over at Bitcoin Treasury, let's go back over here to public companies. This is a great site, bitcointreasuries.net, if you're not paying attention to it. The sheer level of acquisition. I wish they had some better chart. The one thing I wish that they did have here, I wish they had a chart that was kind of like this, showing like Ethereum treasury holdings and their overall growth, and then also ETF holdings. I think that would be such a nice addition to their site. They do a good job by breakdown and then letting you dial into all of these. And again, we know Mara is getting ready. Mara is probably going to maintain its number 2 spot for a little bit of time because they're going to be doing a massive acquisition of Bitcoin holdings. So many Bitcoin purchases that are happening. Let's roll down this list and see if we have any other good highlights we want to touch on. So again, Bitcoin itself bottoming. You can see this over in the bottom right-hand corner. It looks like it's just doing a back test of the 50 and the 100 moving average on the 4-hour, and also this previous trend line that we broke above that goes back to several weeks. So that's looking good. I think we're going higher. And then we talked about how Mara was having a nice bounce off. Well, I don't know if we talked about this, but off the 50, the 100, and the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame. And then the fib extension too. And then again, this is peak volumes going all the way back to 2023. There is tons of support right here. So I think this is the launch zone. Once the dilution, I think it's fully kicked in. Kramer dropping F-bombs on live TV is always bullish. Is he doing that today? So again, I think this thing is looking to go up a lot. But again, I own options on it, so it's a little bit different. I already talked about CleanSpark. We talked about SQNS. We talked about, again, they acquired a bunch. They got 755 new Bitcoin today, or at least reported it today. What's the average price on it? 116,690, so lower than where we're at right now. So that's awesome. Let's keep going down here. I don't know if we talked about this, but Ethereum is literally on the edge of a breakout. It is just a hair lower than this right now. But look at this. Look at this chart. Look at this. Look at this on the monthly time frame where we're sitting. This is super bullish, and I don't see that narrative slowing down. Not with the sheer volumes of Ethereum that are being bought up. I want to remind you guys, this thing, if we look here since the merge, I talked about this the other day. We had 414,000 Bitcoin that have been created since the merge. 414,000. That occurred almost 3 years ago, 2 years and 313 days ago, right? So out of new supply, 414,000. But if we just go here and look, this is probably like 2.4 million, maybe 2.5 million today that we're seeing in Ethereum holdings from almost nothing, right? So if we're looking at this and doing the math, we've had 6 times as much Ethereum put into Ethereum treasuries, not including ETFs, just since April versus what was issued in almost 3 years. So if we just extrapolated that time out, that is 24 years of new issuance in Ethereum supply that has been purchased and locked up into Ethereum treasuries, if we average out what's happened over the last 3. So this is a pretty big deal. And also Ethereum has the ability, because of the burn, if traffic picks up a lot, it has the ability to actually go negative. Right now it's sitting at, over the last 30 days, an issuance rate of about 0.733%. But if traffic really picks up on-chain, which I don't know if it will or not, there's a lot of ways for this stuff to move off-chain. And then, again, you have a lot of layer 2 solutions. But if it starts to get too congested on-chain, this thing could actually turn deflationary and have negative issuance on top of the fact, and you can see where it happened over here, right? You can see where it happened all through 2023, all the way down into 2024. Look at this. We had negative 0.37% after the merge here in 2024. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen because, again, there's so many layer 2 solutions now on this network. But it could. And if that happens, if you have negative issuance and at the same time you're looking at this level of growth. Oh, and I wanted to explain this real quick about Ethereum, guys, just so you know. People are like, wait a second, why are people exiting the validator queue? Why are there so many people? If you look at the whole time frame here, going all the way back to 2023, why are people not staking anymore? Why are they exiting? Well, here's why they're exiting. They're exiting because they're realizing that they can get a higher rate of return than their 4% interest or whatever it is right now. I think it's less than that. What is the APR? 2.97%, right? And the APR will actually go up as more people exit, but there's more people leaving this. There's 1/3 of the net worth that's currently staked. But there's more people leaving that because they're realizing they can get a greater return from the treasuries. The treasuries, though, are then going to take that, and they're going to end up staking as well. So it's going to be interesting. You're going to see a lot less private stakers, I think, and you're going to see a lot bigger ones like BMNR and SBET that are end up staking. But this is good stuff. This is really exciting what's happening here. I think this is rocket fuel to the upside. And again, if we look at Ethereum right now, their treasuries seem to be taking a little bit of a breather today. Solana seems to be doing better, and Bitcoin seems to be doing better for treasuries. But this is huge. Once we break above the 4,060 range, get above this next fib, it's going to be a really quick trip, I think, to 6,400. And these treasuries are going to explode higher when that happens. Again, this is a smaller cap than Bitcoin. It's only 438 billion. I say that as if it's nothing. It's not nothing for sure. It's a lot bigger of a cap than Solana, but this thing could really rocket. So I hope people can realize that. We've got about 14 minutes until the bell, guys. If there's anything you want to talk about, let me know. I'm just going to keep rolling down through here. Thank you for the 94,000 followers on X. Let's keep going down. We got Sequoians. Again, SBET purchases over the weekend. They bought 295 million Ethereum, 77,210 for a total of 438,000. I think that's outdated, though. I think they bought more. We've got Elon Musk saying that Samsung's giant new Texas fab will be dedicated to making Tesla's next generation AI6 chip. Fucking awesome. I posted today that I strongly believe that Metaplanet and SWC have seen their bottom. If their bottoms, if you're normally the person who buys tops, this is not when you leave. This is when you buy more. And climb that ladder, actually climb, or he just goes by climb. He loves Metaplanet. He's got a lot in it, made a fortune, a lot more money than me right now. He said, doubters will say the trend has been too perfect, so we must be living in a simulation. They're probably right. Simulation or not, I'm proud to be a Metaplanet investor. So again, if you look at the price action here, you can see that it spends very little time under an MNAV of 3, which is this bottom line right here. It doesn't do it for long. And again, the green is 5x, the blue is a 7x MNAV, and the white is the 3x, and you can see how we're underneath it with the price. But I think we've seen the bottom. I really do. And Vincent, my buddy over here, he's an old he's a Tesla and SpaceX investor. Vincent is a badass. He's probably stupid fucking rich. You can actually see photos of Elon Musk hanging out with Vincent. Vincent is such a modest dude, but he's fucking amazing. If you're not following him, you should. I love him. Hopefully he doesn't hate me too much from selling a bunch of Metaplanet to diversify into some smaller treasury companies. But he's a good dude. And again, he's brilliant. And he's right here. He said Metaplanet 3x NAV roughly is the base. Either they like it or not, the doubters. And again, I don't know what those guys are doing, but they're stupid if they're ignoring this. Zinks said Mondays are easily the best day of the week for Bitcoin treasuries. Metaplanet bought, Smarter Web bought, Capital B bought, H100 bought. The inevitable strategy buy is coming too. Doesn't look like that's the case this week. That's actually probably a good thing. And again, MicroStrategy, what are you up right now, Strategy? What are you up? Let's see here. That's SWC up 13% pre. Strategy up 2.4. Again, we got Bitcoin consolidating over here. I think that's why these aren't up more, but I think this is really good for both of them. And I can't wait. We get earnings on MicroStrategy, guys, on the 31st on Thursday. I don't know if my nuts are going to be prepared for that, but if I can bear it, who knows? Maybe my nut will feel better because it doesn't feel good most of the time anyway. If I can bear it, I will be doing that fucking earnings call. I tell you that. I'm very excited about it. We have 9 minutes now, roughly, until the bell tolls. SWC and H100 now on top. Ragnar has tons of fucking money. Yeah, he's growing a 10 million plus account. I don't know if he's near 20 million yet, but he's really high. He's got a lot more money than I do. he said growing a 10 million plus account to 100 million plus to fund psychedelic therapy. I like Ragnar. He's cool. Said execution matters, quality matters, raise capital, buy Bitcoin, repeat. And you can see where he's showing here, it's Bitcoin yield versus MNAV. And it shows the buy zone. It shows volatility, sell zone, stable. So what they're telling you over here is that like Matador, for instance, is in the sell zone. It's not as volatile. It's not doing as well. And so it's just showing you that, like with some of these, again, this is kind of this quad here is showing that Coincilium is in the buy zone, right? It's volatile and it's oversold. It's showing H100 is volatile and in the buy zone. SWC, it shows is volatile and just a little bit in the buy zone. So it's saying all of these are doing well. Now, again, Metaplanet, it's showing how it's becoming less volatile. That's just because of its size, and that it's becoming a little more stable, but it's still in the buy zone. And again, some of the things that it shows overbought, Capital B, that might be true. Planet, I don't know what the difference is between Planet and Metaplanet. Does anybody know? MicroStrategy, again, is showing that it's becoming really stable, but it's still in the buy zone. Similar, it's showing in the buy zone, but again, really stable. So volatility is vitality. So I prefer that things are up in this quadrant to do really well, right? And so it's probably not a bad thing that I own SWC, H100, and Coincilium, and Metaplanet. And then again, I've got a few others in this realm too. Some of them don't even show up yet because they haven't even completed their mergers. But I'm excited about that. And again, H100 just keeps buying. I agree with this. They're doing a great job. I don't even know if I follow Sander. No, I don't. I'm going to add that on here. Let's keep going down here. Metaplanet, again, 780 Bitcoin. These guys are sitting in number 7. They're real close. They could be like Trump Media, guys. DJT is sitting in 6. I think within the next 2 weeks, Metaplanet will pass them unless they do a major buy. I think within the next month, Metaplanet will be in the number 5th spot. So it will be ahead of Riot. It will be ahead of Trump Media. Again, unless there's some big buys on their part and these guys are diluting a lot, Metaplanet will be number 5, which is remarkable. I think Metaplanet could get as high as number 3. It depends on how well XXI, SEP does. Because SEP is going to be a contender. These guys are going to do a lot. I think that's the Jack Mallers, Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick one. Can we take a look at Tesla stock, the ticker? Yeah, totally, dude. Let me pull it up. I think this is looking good, honestly. We already had a 3.52% bounce last week. It came down, but now we're touching the 200 moving average again on the daily time frame. So we're going to be above the 100, back above the 200 here, I think, soon. We do have peak volumes sitting up here around the 342 range and the next fib at 344. And then this downward trend line that goes back a ways. What is this? All the way to 2024. So we need to break it. And I put it here because the confluence, there's only one time really that it closed above it, which was right over here. The confluence is that the resistance, again, is like here, here, and again, you can see a little bit of a bounce this one day off of this, but otherwise resistance, couldn't even get to it. So we want to get above this resistance line. So the big mark is going to be like getting above the upper 330s, 340 range, really ideally getting above 344. Once we do that, we're looking at a breakout. Could it back test and turn this into support before going higher? Definitely possible. But I would say that it's still very much in the realm of possibilities that we get up to the 450 range before the end of the year. Even though, guys, if you watch the earnings call, Elon was fairly not super bullish, saying, hey, we're a great company, but we could have a tough couple of quarters ahead. And even with that, we're seeing a bounce back. So he's told you that, hey, it could be tough, and yet we're still seeing a bounce back in the stock. And again, I don't know, maybe even by the beginning of next year here, we see that 80% jump, or at the very least, a touch to previous all-time highs. I'm hoping that this stock, my bias is that it stays this way. My bias is that it doesn't go anywhere. I would rather see it just grind over here all the way through September. That's my bias, okay? So when I'm saying this and I'm saying we could break out to here, I don't want that to happen anytime soon. So I just hope you understand that. It's not like I'm just giving you positive news because I don't think or I'm just trying to be optimistic. I literally want this thing to do worse. I do. Because I would love to just make a bunch of money off of Bitcoin and Ethereum treasuries and all this other stuff, and then be able to buy just a massive stack of Bitcoin or of Tesla because it hasn't done well. Again, the measured move for this, guys, is up to the 77% mark. So I've got this measured out to the next fib after we break above this one. This is just an assumption that it's happening quick enough. And then the next fib, that's 25% upside from here. Actually, a little bit less than that. Let me adjust these. 24% upside from here. And then again, the golden retracement zone. If we hit that again, that's 44% upside from here. And then, again, all-time high, 52%. And then getting to the next fib, like 77. And then I think next year we could still touch into like get into the 600s, maybe even the 750 range, and maybe even up near the 900s and 1000s next year. I think that's totally doable. It's just we need to start seeing the revenue from full self-driving. We need to see Optimus really getting built out, and not just optimistically, but we need to see it happening. But I think it's good stuff, guys. There's a lot of good things. Again, my hope is that Tesla sucks for a while. Please suck. BMNR, Dario says, do you still think $30 is in play? $30. Oh, do I think it could? Could it drop to that level? I mean, there's a fib. There's a daily gap down at that level. Does it have to? I don't know. If Tom doesn't shut up and keeps like letting people know about deals that are happening or whatever else, and people get excited about it, it might never hit this number. It's definitely had an opportunity to. So could it still drop another 15% from here? Or 14 to 15%? Yes, it could. It has already dropped 77% from its high. So I'm not taking the bet. If it drops more and I make some money off of something else and I can dial more into this, fucking awesome. But we are above peak volumes going back quite a ways here. I'll just go zoom out even further and see if this refreshes. So I'm all the way back to like last year, and this is the peak volume, and I shouldn't say we're above it. If we go back to last year, we're just a little bit underneath, but we're getting close, right? And if we zoom in more, we are above it. So I think we could just see a grind sideways and then come up. Yes, you look like right here. Now we're above it once I zoom out and get over this more localized time frame. So I think it's finding support. Could it have a day where it wicks down a little bit? Sure. But 15% downside versus to get to its previous all-time high not that long ago, 300% upside. I don't know. That's pretty asymmetric to the upside to me, man. Do I have a referral code? I've used all mine, but yes, I do have one. If you guys go to my pinned post, there is somebody that I've currently got theirs listed here. Once theirs gets used up, we'll go to the next one. So if you guys do use a referral code over here, I'll throw it in chat real quick so you don't have to click on it. You will be helping out Paul Gave, and Paul will appreciate you for it. And so that's the referral code for Tesla. And then once that's used up, Paul's going to let me know, and then I'll randomly select somebody else, and we'll use their referral code, because if I don't have a good one, it behooves me to help the community get theirs filled up. So we'll get his filled up, and then we'll move on to the next one. Sound like a plan? Okay. Would you consider January calls for Sequence? I'm not. I'm in November now. I went out to November. I personally just don't want to go out that far. I think it's too far for me right now, but could it turn out all right? Yes, but time is always an issue. You're literally placing a bet that this time is different and that we're going to be several months past the longest cycle we've ever had in Bitcoin's history. I'm not willing to place that bet. So I've got some calls that go out to the beginning of November. That's happened before. We've had the peak after that time frame. So I still feel okay about that. Does CleanSpark still have a shot this year? Yes, I think so. I don't think you're going to get a great return on the stock, right? Like I don't, the stock guys, I'm telling you, maybe 166%. Maybe things get really exciting and it goes to $50. But if that happens, I think you could have made so much more off of treasuries. The options could still be okay, but I don't know. Again, I think these are a laggard. 1 minute till open. Okay, let's get over here. We're going to get back and do the pump the open here real quick, guys. So I'm going to go to the live stream here. We're going to listen to that, and I'm going to maybe do some trading in Sequoians this morning.
And if they can raise deliveries because they've proven that they know how to make planes, that's where the cash is going to come in, and people are going to end up paying higher for the stock.
Sequoians down 28%.
Thing surprised me.
Yeah, and that's the defense unit. 3,000 workers in St. Louis.
Going the right way. So I don't know. Look, Kelly's not he's a very serious businessman. He's not going to say, we're fine. He's going to say, okay, I got to, this is to be decided. But I come back and I say, when you look at the week, other than Apple, it may be.
Oh, I can't tell if anything's closing.
Just the numbers could be low. And a lot of people feel that Google, which was not the best, had a fantastic quarter. Amazing.
We talked about the strength of the Alphabet quarter, but the response in the market was somewhat muted.
Oh, no, I thought it was okay.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, the
it did have
said,
some follow through.
Jim wasn't up so much.
Right.
Look at the run of the stock.
And it did. It was 10 days, almost 10 straight days, and then it had a down day right before they reported, and then.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying.
It's up since.
Ex-housing, the housing stocks are starting to move. The market's either anticipating a rate cut, or we just have a lot of business in the country except for housing. But the housing companies, the stocks are coming back as if there is going to be rate cuts. I think the big fear is he makes a rate cut and then the long end goes up.
Sure, that's one of the key dangers about vigilantes, Jim. Companies that are missing on earnings are underperforming.
I haven't talked much about iron real quick, guys, just because of the fact that I'm not in it anymore. I took some really large gains, and I called the top on it. So, and I need to look at my trade here too. But so when we went up to here, I called the top. We did go higher. We went up to like 21, 22. I sold out all my calls like right over here in the 18, 19 range. We're still just kind of treading water over here. This thing got to pretty overbought conditions on the daily. We've got up to like 88. I don't know how we're sitting on the weekly. We're in overbought territory, but historically it has been higher, but only just a handful of times, or one time on the weekly in 2024. So again, I'm not super interested in that. I don't know. To me, it's already done just stupid well. And again, I root for everybody here. 300, and we got to a peak of 313% in a very short period of time from April 7th to more recently here. So I don't talk about iron that much. The HPC play, though, if it really takes off, this thing could end up doing good again. You just never know. You never know. So, but yeah, I don't talk about it too much. Again, I do have targets, though, that are higher, right? Like I've got a target of like 120% higher than where we're at. That would put this company at like $10 billion, close to what I'm talking about with these others, right? And again, if we just zoom down to where we're at, that's anywhere from like the 30. I mean, theoretically, by the end of the cycle, maybe even $44 a share, which is another couple 100% higher. So I do believe it can go higher. Do I believe it should be valued more than CleanSpark right now? I'm not sure. Guys, I'll do a post here in a second. Oh, it looks like I did close a couple of orders. Yeah, I'll do a post here in a second. But I got to go to the bathroom again. I can't wait to get my nut job done. I won't be here Wednesday. My goal is to try and be around Friday. So if I'm feeling better after my surgery, I'll be around then. Otherwise, good luck. I'll let you guys know about my buys here in Sequoians here in a little bit. But you have a good day. I think this is a great buying opportunity. I think the treasuries have already hit the bottom or are very, very close to it. And now is the time to buy it. So that's what I'm doing. Peace out, guys. I love you. I will see you later. And again,